Hey everybody, this is Darren Sabedra again, Bay Area News Group, Mercury News, East Bay Times, here with Mike Lefkow and Joseph Dycus. Guys, how are you today?
Doing great.
Everybody's looking great.
Busy.
Lefty, we're heading into week 8. We're almost 2 months into the season. And you're going to tell me a little bit about the game you were at Friday, because I thought I was the only one who saw De La Salle fall short on the football field. Now you can say you've done it. What? Now you can say that you've done it.
Yeah, I think that's the first time I ever saw him lose. But I
was
well, no, when Bob Ladouceur first started, I saw him lose a couple games.
Right. I had seen the previous 4 NorCal losses. Now you've seen the 5th one, and we're talking about over the last 13 months. Lefty, I saw a tweet early in the evening. You thought it was going to be a rout for De La Salle when they were up 2 touchdowns, but as we discussed yesterday over the phone, 2 touchdown leads for De La Salle in some of these games is not big enough. What were your impressions of what happened to the Spartans?
You know, I don't know. They were up 14-0, and then St. Mary's went right down the field and scored an 80-yard drive. Then De La Salle got the ball back, fumbled. St. Mary's recovers and goes right in for the tying score. And after that, really, I mean, it was once De La Salle got up 14-0, St. Mary's outscored them 45-14 until the final 3 minutes of the game when De La Salle threw a long touchdown pass. Which
is the first time in this stretch of losses for De La Salle that they lost by double digits to a team from Northern California. I know I wrote about a month ago that St. Francis loss crushed the mystique. You took some issue with that. Do you think the mystique is still there, or do you think these teams now look at it and like we're not down 100 points when we step on the field against these guys?
Well, I mean, I think if you're talking about the mystique for a team like Sarah, St. Francis, Folsom, now maybe St. Mary's, no, the mystique is not there, or at least is not what it used to be. But if you're talking about like the other EBAL teams that De La Salle will be playing from here on out, I still think there is a mystique. I don't think California is going to go into the game Friday night thinking everything's even and just whoever plays better wins.
Right.
San Ramon Valley is not playing De La Salle this year. I don't know that there's a huge mystique when Clayton Valley plays De La Salle. But even Clayton Valley, I think, there's still a smidgen of mystique. I mean, I don't think they go in overconfident in that game or thinking that, hey, whichever team plays better wins.
Right. Well, Joseph, you're gonna see the Spartans on Friday night when they travel to San Ramon to play California. You in our picks here have picked against the Spartans twice and came out a winner both times.
I have.
Which is amazing. I mean, you took St. Mary's last week. What are you most looking forward to seeing Friday night? Because I agree with Lefty that De La Salle still has the upper hand in this game, and it's not by a touchdown. I think it's I still think they're stronger than most, if not all, of the teams in their league. What are you looking forward to seeing on Friday night from the Spartans?
I'm looking forward to seeing if De La Salle goes down, not by a ton, just by, let's say they get down 10-0 in the first quarter. How do they respond to that? How do they react to that? Do they panic, or is it just like, okay, guys, let's get it together and let's go win the game? I'm kind of interested in seeing, especially after the last few weeks of not playing particularly well, how do they react to that? And they're playing at California, so they're going to be in a hostile environment.
Right. They do have a very impressive record against California in the Max Preps era, and I'm sure it goes back way further than that.
Well, I mean, if I could dispute a couple things you said there, Joseph, I'd be extremely surprised if they get down by 10 points. I don't think they will And in terms of being in a hostile environment, they're not going to be in any more hostile environment than they were at St. Mary's. I mean, St. Mary's, you're up in Stockton. There's no kids at De La Salle from Stockton. The De La Salle roster is going to have some kids from San Ramon. So it's going to be a totally different thing. And I think that, I imagine practice is not a lot of fun this week at De La Salle. I got is really letting them have it.
We're going to be writing about that. Story should come out on Wednesday. If not Wednesday, definitely Thursday. I talked to Coach Allenbaugh yesterday, and before we got into our conversation, he was let's say he was instructing one of his players in a coach type of tone. And it was telling. He still believes that the Spartans have a lot to play for this season, which is true. I mean, they're 3-3 right now. They could easily finish 7-3, go into the playoffs, win another North Coast Section Championship, and they're going to be in one of the upper divisions at the state level to play in a regional, and then maybe make it down to Mission Viejo for a state championship game. So there's still a lot to play for from on the Spartans side of things. For California, I think the interesting thing is if they get down 14-0, what are they going to do? Because as you and I have discussed many times, Lefty, these games against De La Salle don't count in the Mountain Division standings. And if California wants to contend, do they start saying, okay, this game's getting out of hand, and they basically, maybe waving the white flag is a bit strong, but do they take the foot off the gas, try not to get anybody injured because they know they have bigger games coming up after this one?
I don't know the character of every coach in the EBAL. My belief with Dan Calcagno is that he would not do that. Mm-hmm. He would want this to be a lesson. If you look at the California rosters, a lot of juniors on that team, and I think that he would want it to be a lesson. Okay, we're not playing well, we're getting beat, but we're not going to say, oh, let's worry about games down the road. Let's worry about this game with De La Salle, see if we can come back, maybe make it interesting, and then we'll worry about next week.
Right. That's probably enough discussion about the Spartans. Joseph, you were at maybe the game of the year, and you've been at a lot of good games, but this one on Friday night that you were at, 45-42, McClymonds over San Ramon Valley at the Mac House in Oakland. We wrote about it in Monday Morning Lights. You had a nice lead item in which one of the players from San Ramon Valley, his mother sent us a very heartfelt email on Saturday, the day after the game, commending McClymonds, saying
nominated the whole team for Athlete of the Week. She was very, very impressed with how welcoming that community was, how well coached the team was. Said a lot about McClymonds, didn't it? Mm-hmm. Did. I was talking to Coach Peters, as you read in the Monday Morning Lights. He talked about how important it was that teams like San Ramon Valley, Campolindo, San Marin, etc., feel welcome and able to go down to MAC and play Friday night and feel safe. We had the story, was it a few weeks ago, where Galileo from San Francisco did not travel to Richmond to play a game, and so just very different response from San Ramon Valley, that they went to MAC, went to McClymonds, and they played a great game. And as far as I know, there were no incidents or anything like that after the game.
Very good. Lefty, you've been at the MAC House a number of times. Coach Peters and Coach Carter before him, they've built quite a program there at McClymonds, huh?
Oh, yeah, it's a terrific program. The school is a small school. There's only a little over 300 students, all the football players are not coming from the McClymonds attendance area. But, it's a terrific football program. And, it is a fun place to go and watch a game. You feel perfectly safe there, and I've never had any problems there. I think it's fun to go cover a game at McClellan's.
Right. Before we move on to the picks, we addressed last week a larger picture of the CCS and their playoff format, their competitive equity playoff format, in which some teams, it pays not to win games at this point in the season because you're being in a more favorable division in the playoffs. And Alex Simon, our colleague, was at the Half Moon Bay Sacred Heart Prep game on Saturday, and Sacred Heart Prep won 17-7. I'm going to read you a quote from the Half Moon Bay coach after that game. Coach Holden said, quote, "I hate to say this, but I will say it because it's totally true. When it comes to playoffs and how they seed you, losing actually helps you." Lefty, when you saw that quote, what did you think?
I agreed with him 100%. I mean, it's a shame in a way, but he's right. He's 100% right. Losing does help in terms of where you get seated.
If they had won that game, and we discussed this last week, and went on to win the Bay Division, they'd be in Division 1 with Sarah, with St. Francis, with the big boys of the WCal. Joseph, you're over. You've come over from Tennessee. You see this. What do you think?
First of all, when I saw the quote on Monday morning, I laughed. I actually laughed out loud because I was like, wow, a week after we're talking about this on the show, a coach comes out and says, maybe he won. Maybe the coach watched the show. Who knows?
No, he's felt that way for a while. I've talked to him.
Giving ourselves too much credit here. It's wild to me, though, that, losing a game could actually help your chances of succeeding later on, and not just in like a coach speak, overcoming adversity kind of way, but actually giving you an advantage. I think the only equivalent I can think of is like sometimes in like the NBA, a team might possibly want to lose a couple of games so they don't match up with a certain team, but I can't think of anything like that happening in high school sports in any other way.
And well, it does here in California. And you don't want to be that number 8 seed in Division 1. You want to be the 9th best team in the section and be the number 1 seed in Division 2.
And then there are a lot of coaches in the Central Coast section that would say the same thing that
Paul Rosa would be one.
Oh yeah, Paul Rosa. That's a favorite subject of his. But even Patrick Walsh at Sarah, we talked about it a couple of years ago, and he said that that year that Half Moon Bay was the number 8 seed in Division 1, and they had to play Sarah, and Sarah just clobbered them. And Walsh said, he felt sorry. He said Half Moon Bay had a great team, a 10-0 team, but it's just a different level of football.
All right, let's get to the picks, guys. Last week, Joseph, you were the winner of the week for the week.
11-4. Let's go.
Lefkow and I still matching one another. We were both 9-6, so we're still a few games ahead of you in the season standings, Joseph. But a nice week for you. We're going to pick 15 more games. All I believe are on Friday. Let's start off with the one at Christopher. We're going to pick a Christopher game again. They're down in Gilroy. They will be playing the Leland Chargers. Christopher is 5-1, lost for the first time this season last week to Lincoln of San Jose. They'll be playing Leland, which is 2-4. Leland has 2 really close losses on its resume. They also have 2 lopsided losses to Half Moon Bay and Wilcox. These teams have a recent history against one another. Leland lost to Christopher 36-11 in the CCS playoffs last year, and they lost to Christopher 24-7 in a CCS final in 2019. So, all that being said, I'm taking Christopher. Who do you guys got?
I'm taking Christopher too.
Yep, I'm going with Christopher.
All right. Game 2 on the list. Doherty Valley 6-1 got routed last week by Foothill for its first loss of the season. They'll be hitting the road, going to Livermore to play Granada. Granada at 3-4. Granada 6-0 against Doherty, the Max Preps era. Won last year 41-27. I'm going Granada. Lefty, who you got?
Yep, make it 7-0 for Granada.
Joseph.
I hate to agree again. Going Granada.
Going Granada. All right. Game 3 on the list. Irvington. Lefty, you wrote about them over the weekend. They had a big win over Washington Fremont. They've won 5 in a row. They're 5-1 on the season. How do you pronounce the quarterback's name? Arian Shaw?
That's Arian Shaw, yes.
That's what I'm going to go with. Had a huge game against the Huskies last week. They will be playing Mount Eden. Mount Eden's 3-3. Mount Eden is 3-0 against Irvington in the Max Preps era. The Mount Eden won last year 47-22. I am going with Irvington. Joseph, who you got?
I'm gonna go with Mount Eden. I'm gonna go against you guys.
Well, you don't know what Lefty's picking. Let's hear what Lefty's got.
Yeah, he's going against me. I'm gonna go with Irvington. I think actually they might not be a bad team. Their only loss was a 1-point loss to Napa. Cal
Preps is predicting Mount Eden 21-17. I forgot to mention the Cal Preps scores in the previous 2 games. Cal Preps has taken Granada 35-19, and Cal Preps has taken Christopher over Leland 28-17. Game 4 on the list at South San Francisco. Mills 3-3, South San Francisco 4-3. Mills is 3-1 in the Lake Division, and South San Francisco is 2-1. Mills is 2-1 against South San Francisco in the Max Preps era, but they haven't played since 2019. Joseph, who you got?
I'm gonna go with Mills.
Lefty.
I'm gonna take South City,
and I am taking South City as well. Game 5 on the list, Half Moon Bay playing a 3. They're going back to Valparaiso. I think it's Valparaiso Avenue. They're going to be playing Menlo School, which sits right next door to Sacred Heart Prep. So Half Moon Bay suffered its first loss of the season last Saturday at Sacred Heart Prep 17-7. They'll be going to play Menlo School. Menlo School's 4-2, and their quarterback, Jake Bianchi. Is that how you pronounce his name? Bianchi?
Might be Bianchi, yeah.
Might be Bianchi. I'm not sure.
I'm gonna go Bianchi. Jake Bianchi, 406 yards and 4 touchdowns last week against Aragon. Half Moon Bay is 8-5 against Menlo School in the Max Preps era, but lost last year 47-28. Lefty, who you got?
I'm going to take Half Moon Bay to bounce back and win this game.
Joseph?
I'm going to go with Menlo School to win.
And I'm going Half Moon Bay. And Cal Prep says Half Moon Bay 24 and Menlo School 19.
Game, then.
Freedom and Liberty out in East Contra Costa County. Freedom 2-3, Liberty 3-3. Liberty could easily be 4-2 after scaring the heck out of Pittsburgh last week. Pittsburgh needed a late field goal to escape on its home field 31-29. Liberty won this game last year 50-20. Liberty's at home. I got Liberty. Joseph?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Liberty.
I'm going to take Liberty, but I think it's going to be a close game.
All right. I'm going to say Liberty by 10. So, and Cal Prep says Liberty by 4, 35-31. So they're.
I think that's
the computer think is. This next one was a really, really tough one for me.
Oh man.
Clayton Valley Charter 3-3. It's turned its season around with road wins over Jesuit and blowout last week of Amador Valley. Hitting the road to play San Ramon Valley. We discussed San Ramon lost a thriller on Friday at the Mac House, 45-42. Luke Baker was 40 of 57 for 513 yards and 5 touchdowns, the 5'11 junior for the Wolves. Christian Aguilar, meanwhile, threw for 325, completed 28 of 35 and 3 touchdowns in the rout of Amador Valley. Man, this was a tough one. I'm going to let you go first, Lefty.
Well, I'm gonna this could be a 3-hour game. I think there's gonna be a lot of passing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take San Ramon Valley to pull it off at home. I like that kid Luke Baker. I think he's really a good quarterback. They got some good receivers. I think this is going to be a heck of a game. This might be the best game of the week, actually.
I think it is. Joseph, who you got?
Maybe I'm biased because I just saw them play last week, but San Ramon Valley, I mean, their offense looked pretty much unstoppable in the fourth quarter. And I mean, McClymon's got some guys there on their defense, and Luke Baker was doing whatever he wanted. He looked like, I think Michael Peters told me he's the best quarterback they've played this season, and they played Pittsburgh earlier in the year, so that's pretty high praise.
Well, an assistant tweeted out that that he was the best quarterback they've faced since Jared Goff at Marine Catholic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna say quickly, there was a play where he got pressured, he rolled to his right, and I thought, okay, he had thrown nothing but like 5-yard passes the entire night so far. And I was like, okay, he's going to throw it away or he'll dump it down to his check down. And he just, like with a flick of the wrist, threw it like 40, 50 yards downfield on a rope. And I was like, where did this come from?
He's pretty good.
He's good.
Christian Aguilar has been very good for Clayton. I, too, am going with San Ramon, although I could see it going the other way. But I'm going to go San Ramon in this one. And Cal Preps makes it all 4 for 4. There, Cal Preps is also, the computer is also going with San Ramon, 35-27.
Bulletin board material for the Uglies.
For the Uglies, Tim Murphy. Terra Nova, 5-1 at Cappuccino, 4-2. Terra Nova's won 3 in a row. Cappuccino's won 3 in a row. Terra Nova's 2-0 against Cap in the Max Preps era, but they haven't played each other since 2017. I'm going to go Terra Nova. Lefty, who you got?
I'm going to take Cappuccino.
I'm going to go Terra Nova.
Joseph Terra Nova. All right. Game 9 on the list. Foothill, which ruined Doherty Valley's undefeated season last week. It's going to be facing another undefeated team this week. They travel to Livermore to face the Cowboys. The Cowboys are 6-0. Cowboys are 1-16 against Foothill in the Max Preps era. Their only win was 14-13 in the pandemic-shortened spring 2021 season. I got Foothill winning this game.
Yeah, I'll start.
You got Joseph. You got Foothill too.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, make it unanimous. Apparently, Chris Lawson is starting. He's finally healthy. He's starting to look pretty good.
Cal Prep says Foothill 26-24. You think it's gonna be that close?
Not if it's 26-24. If it's a little lower scoring, I think it might be, but not if the over/under is 50.
All right. Live Oak 5-1 at Santa Teresa 4-2. Big game in the Mount Hamilton division of the BVAL. I'm going Santa Teresa. I went back and forth on this one. In fact, I scribbled out. I had Live Oak originally, and I decided to go with Coach Pappin's team playing at home. Joseph, who do you got?
It was a tough one too. I'm gonna go with Santa Teresa though.
Lefty?
Yeah, I'm gonna make it 3, Santa Teresa.
And the computer says Santa Teresa 28-21. Hayward 3-3 at Moreau Catholic 3-3. Hayward is 5-0 against the Mariners in the Max Preps era, but 3 of those wins were the first 3 years of Max Preps, 04, 05, and 06. Hayward went 2-0 against Moreau in the 2021 calendar year, winning in the spring and winning again in the fall. But I think Moreau is going to turn the tide Friday and win on its home field, bounce back from the loss to Liberty. I'm going Moreau. Joseph, who you got?
You know what? I'm going to go with Hayward.
Lefty.
This is the one I went back and forth on. I'm going to go with Moreau, but I think it's going to be a very interesting game. Hayward is not a bad team.
No, it is not. The computer, CalPreps' computer says Hayward 31 and Moreau 28. So I can see a game like that. The Bruce Mahoney game in San Francisco, the big rivalry game between St. Ignatius and Sacred Heart Cathedral. We played Friday night at Kezar Stadium. Throw out the records when these rivals meet. SI is 2-4, Sacred Heart 3-3. I'm going Sacred Heart Cathedral to win this one at Kezar. Joseph, who you got?
I'm gonna go with Cathedral as well.
Lefty?
Yeah, I'm going with Sacred Heart Cathedral.
And CalPreps' computer says Sacred Heart Cathedral 31 and SI 21. We discussed this one quite a bit early on. Game 13 on our list, De La Salle 3-3, California 5-1. Spartans are 19-0 against Cal in the Max Preps era, but I'm sure that's a much larger number if you go back through the pre-Max Preps era season logs. Close games between these teams. While you go back to 2008, it was 21-14 for De La Salle, and 2012 was 27-14 for De La Salle. I'm going Spartans. I think they're going to win comfortably. Joseph?
After my long speech about California possibly going up and stuff, you know what? I think De La Salle is probably going to win by more than 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Does that count as bulletin board material for California?
Well,
No, probably not.
It depends on what Lefty has to say.
I think De La Salle wins. Yeah, I think they'll win comfortably.
And by comfortably, I could see something like a 35-10, 42-14 type of score. And let's see. Oh, CalPreps' computer says 38-14 De La Salle. Game 14 on the list, another tough one. Mitty, 5-1. One of the stories of the season. Only loss was to Sarah. Last year, the Monarchs won 1 game. They've got 5 wins this year. Bellarmine, 3-3. Ben Pfaff has been hurt. Ankle injury. Not sure what his status will be for this game. Bellarmine is 11-7-1 against Mitty in the Max Preps era, and won last year 42-24. I'm going Mitty in this game. I like the way Mitty's playing. I think Danny Sullivan is, at least at this point, a strong candidate for Coach of the Year. And I think the Monarchs have been on an amazing story, given what they've gone through the last few years. Joseph, who you got?
I gotta go with Bellarmine. I think I'm gonna go with Bellarmine here.
You're gonna go Bellarmine
It's gonna be a low scoring 17-10 kind of game. I think Bellarmine squeaks it out.
Bellarmine squeaks it out at San Jose City College. It's home field.
Mm-hmm.
Lefty, who do you got?
Yep, I'm going to go with the Bells. Maybe they can pull off another 3-0 game.
Yeah, maybe they can.
Maybe CalPreps' computer says Mitty 28, Bellarmine 14.
Wow.
Ooh, I don't know about that.
I don't have a whole lot of confidence in Bellarmine, the computer, does it?
Guess
you know,
not.
if we want another 3-0 game, we need to send Alex Simon out there. I was joking with him a couple days ago. It seems like every game that he goes to, it's a low scoring game.
No doubt. Last game on the list. We're probably for the Diablo Athletic League Foothill Division Championship. Acalanes at 6-0. Campolindo 6-0. Campo early season wins over Aptos and Windsor, which are probably their most impressive wins on their resume. They've scored 197 points while giving up 113 in the 6 wins. Acalanes, 215 points they've scored and 62 they've allowed. They've given up 7 points in their last 3 games, back-to-back shutouts. Shutout Las Lomas last week, 42-0. Beat Oakland 54-0 a couple weeks ago. Lefty, I'm gonna let you go first.
Well, I am going to go with Campolindo. Burnshead is, I think, 2-4 against Campolindo. but I cannot remember. Acalanes has not won at Campolindo, I don't think, in the Max Preps era.
Well, Campo is 16-5 in the Max Preps era against Acalanes, but Campo's won 11 of the last 13.
Yeah.
And they won
and the
20.
2 wins, the 2 losses were at Acalanes. This game
we're at Acalanes. Both great coaches, Kevin Macy on the Campo sideline and Floyd Burnstead on the Acalanes side.
These are 2 very good coaches.
Joseph, who do you got in this battle of unbeatens?
You know, I don't know. It's hard to say it's going to be an upset, but I'm going to go with Acalanes to
get the win,
to go against history and get the win.
I'm going to go with Lefty. I'm taking Campolindo to win on its home field. But Cal Preps computer makes it 2-2. They are taking Acalanes 24-17.
Computer never lies, right? By the way, it seems like this week the computer is not quite as doesn't seem to be making quite as many wild predictions as it did a couple weeks ago.
It got its act together. It did a little bit more homework. Last week it was just spitting numbers out. This week seemed a little more inside its lane.
Exactly.
You know, the thing about the Campo Acalanes too is that everybody talks about young coaches. And Burnstead, I think it's like 73, 74 years old, and Macy is around 68 or 69. So these are not young coaches, and yet they're still 2 of the best coaches in the Bay Area.
No doubt about that. There are going to be no surprises in this game. These coaches are, they're gonna make sure that every T is crossed, every I is dotted. They're going to be. I'm looking forward to this game.
You think they'll shake hands?
What's that?
You think they'll shake hands?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, why? Do you know something I don't know?
I don't think they're bosom buddies, but
yeah, okay, all right. Well, I know the teams probably aren't bosom buddies, right? And I mean, this is part of that rivalry. I know Campo Miramani, but Campo Acalanes has got to be a pretty big rivalry too.
Well, yeah,
right?
Sure. It's all La Miranda School District. Those kids played against each other growing up, and they all know each other.
Yep. Joseph, anything else to add before we close here?
Kind of the same thing I say every week. Athletic directors, coaches, if you'd like to nominate a girl for Athlete of the Week, please send us an email at highschools@bayareanewsgroup.com. We take boys too. Yes. We take nominations till around 11 a.m. on Monday. If you send it a little bit late, we can still get it in. And nominate
not that much later because this
not
thing
that much.
So I mean, if you're thinking at 11:07 that you're going to get in, you might not get in. So we like to say 11 o'clock to get those nominations in. You have all weekend. You know the results. Takes one real quick email. highschools@bayareanewsgroup.com. Pretty easy. Make sure to sign up for a digital subscription. Definitely helps us out here. Makes us keep going. Mm-hmm. Keep reading on the weekend. We got game coverage. We'll have a lot of game coverage this weekend as always, and we will have our always popular high school roundup that includes as many games as we can get in. Be sure to send in your game information or answer our reporters when they fire off a text or leave a voicemail looking for a few game details so we can include in the roundup. Lefty, any parting shot?
Oh, I guess the only one I would say is I wouldn't write off De La Salle quite yet. Beyond that, I'm looking forward to that Clayton San Ramon and Acalanes-Campo games.
I'm very much looking forward to those games, and I'm looking forward to seeing how the Spartans respond against California. So check out our coverage this weekend. That's it from this end. We'll see you guys next week.